Hey, what's up, everybody? I want to welcome you to another episode of the Dreamers Pro Daily Recap, where we give you a recap of all of the hot topics that we covered that day. You can catch them in their long format and also catch it fully streaming for free on Apple Podcasts. The channel, as y'all know, I'm in New York City, and it's actually crazy doing these shows, like even doing this show that we're about to do right now, talking about Stephen A. Smith, knowing damn well Stephen A. Smith in the same city as me, man. It's crazy. Same city. Just walking around. Who knows? Maybe you run into him one day, run into him somewhere. I don't know. It's just crazy to me. But anyway, I've been watching shows like First Take and all of it. And it's a little bit different watching these shows live when they're going on while you're awake and all of that. It's I don't know. These shows they're more enjoyable when I watch them on like clips on YouTube and all of that. To sit down and watch the full show. First of all, I don't have the time to do that. They're playing the background, so nobody's really paying attention to it. But it just had a different feel, catching clips on YouTube versus actually sitting down and watching the shows live. I found the clips to be a little bit more enjoyable. But anyway, yes. So what happened? As you guys know, the Dallas Mavericks, they somehow, some way landed the first pick in the draft while having a 98.2% chance to not land it. And let me tell y'all something. A lot of people have been criticizing the NBA. I just even saw some comments this morning from Chris Mad Dog Russo saying the Dallas Mavericks getting the number one pick really brings into question the integrity of the NBA. A lot of people have laughed about it like this thing is a joke. Like they're essentially saying that the draft is rigged. And what they're saying is this whole Luka Lakers, all of this stuff was orchestrated where you give us Luka, he goes to the Lakers, we help boost the ratings, and in return we'll give you the number one draft pick. That's what it all seems like. And with that draft pick, you can now do whatever you want. You can trade it, keep it, whatever. Right? So there's that. But anyway, with that first pick in the draft, everybody is saying that they're going to select Cooper Flagg. And with that, they were discussing this yesterday on ESPN First Take. And I think Udonis Haslem was there. I think Kendrick Perkins was there. I remember, I think Brian Windhorst was there. And then Stephen A. Smith jumps up and says, you know what? Apart from the fact that I think Cooper Flagg is going to be an excellent basketball player, I think one of the reasons that the Dallas Mavericks should ensure that they draft him is because he's white. And he would work well with the Dallas Mavericks. And I was like, okay, this is interesting. This is something worth talking about.
Cooper Flagg and then everybody else. When you got somebody with that kind of potential and they're white and you are in America, you keep that dude. You keep. I'm telling you right now, with my black self, I'm the owner of the Dallas Mavericks. I ain't thinking about drafting somebody else. I'm not thinking about moving Cooper Flagg. I'm grabbing Cooper Flagg. He's the number one overall pick. I mean, just think about the marketing. Do you know I saw some commercial? I forgot whether it was a commercial, an endorsement deal, or whatever. Do you know he had the American flag behind him? Just think about that. Think about the marketability. I'm not talking about just keeping him because he's white. I'm saying the brother can play. He's a special talent. And then when you think about it, they just let go of Luka. So you can't let go. And let's call it what it is. That Jerry Jones taught me this. This is what I learned from that. When I say this kind of stuff, I get this kind of stuff from Jerry Jones. When I say, we're talking about Texas. That's Jerry Jones right there. That's what Jerry Jones reminded me. This is Texas. It's a little bit different. True story. This actually happened. I'm in Austin, Texas last year, South by Southwest. I'm in my hotel room. I've never seen this happen in my life. I'm watching an episode of Martin. Martin Lawrence, great comedic genius that he is. And in the middle of the episode, the program gets interrupted so they can air the national anthem with the American flag on the screen. I've never seen that happen in my life. It was on television. That's what happened, okay? Texas is different. And in Dallas, Texas, if you got an opportunity to get Cooper Flagg, you take Cooper Flagg, especially when you just let go of Luka Doncic. And especially when everybody's talking about him, best potential to be the best white American player since Larry Bird. Yes, you keep that pick. I ain't got no problems with it.
All right, I'm going to take a little bit of a different approach, Stephen A., to why the Mavericks, I think, are going to do this.
Okay, so you heard what Stephen A. Smith had to say. Wouldn't that be like a DEI hire? Why would you hire somebody just because they're white? That's crazy. Or black or blue or green, whatever, right? I'm just kidding. But anyway, let's break this down. What are my thoughts about what he said? First of all, I have thought about it to myself, okay? Not just the Dallas Mavericks. I've thought about it at teams as well as like the Boston Celtics. I've always wondered, not like in a way where it's like it's something I lost sleep over. I just thought to myself, like, this is interesting. I always wondered, like, the Boston Celtics have a lot of white players, and the Dallas Mavericks have a lot of white players, especially their stars players, always white. Not Nikola Jokic, Dirk Nowitzki, Luka Doncic. And now they're drafting, most likely going to draft Cooper Flagg. He's white as well. I'm like, that's interesting, right? How did they pull that off? Now, do I think that, these teams go after white players because it probably plays better in their towns? Possibly. I don't know. I really don't know. Now, I do have some thoughts about a person's color playing a role in a particular city's support for a player. I think it plays a role, and I think it doesn't. I think that if you have a white player in a predominantly white city, it may kind of, look, everybody's happy to see their own kind do well, for the most part. Everybody is happy to see their own kind do well. Black people are happy to see blacks do well. Okay, so there are some fools out there. White people are happy to see white people do well, and this group and that group and this group and that group. Everybody has their thing that, that they want to support. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So I think it's a natural thing where if you're a white guy or white people, you see a white player, it makes you feel good. I don't think that it's a human thing. Now, to deny that, I think you're a clown, because you're now trying to say, no, I'm above that. I've evolved beyond them, and go sit your ass down. But I don't think that you need to draft a player or have a player of a particular pigmentation in a particular city for that player to be accepted, or for people to feel like, hey, I think this guy is great. I'll give you an example. Although I've never been to Chicago, I think Chicago's a pretty interesting blend of people out there. They love Michael Jordan. In a broader perspective, Michael Jordan is loved by people all over the world. White, black, blue, green, purple, yellow, red, brown, whatever you want to call it. They love him because it's just Michael Jordan, right? So there's some people that genuinely don't care about the particular star player's color. Some people do. Some people don't. I think the vast majority don't. I think the vast majority don't spend any time thinking about it. This is just my opinion. So to Stephen A. Smith's point of, the Dallas Mavericks, to draft him because it just makes sense because he's white and all of that. I get it from an historical standpoint, what he's saying. But I think what matters more is whether or not this guy is actually good or not. Right? Because you can draft a white player that has a lot of expectations and prospects, but then if the guy goes out there and stinks up the place, who cares his color? Right? So to me, I get where he's coming from, but I don't think it's a one size fit all kind of thing where it's like, in a black city, draft a black player, in a white city, get a white player. I don't think so. But I have asked myself the question, when you look at cities like Boston and Dallas, how their stars always somehow end up being white. But then, you look at the Boston Celtics, for example, they had the big three with Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, and Ray Allen, and they were black too. So I don't know. But nevertheless, as you guys know, Nick Wright is one of the biggest supporters of LeBron James. And what that means is that he pretty much sees every occurrence that takes place in the NBA through the prism of how does this affect or how does this benefit LeBron James, right? That's essentially what Nick Wright does. And once again, he is struck again. As you guys know, we've had some surprising results in the playoffs. One in particular, between the Indiana Pacers and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Going into the playoffs, the Cleveland Cavaliers, I believe, won something like 66 games, had the best record in the Eastern Conference, I believe the best record in the league. So going into the playoffs, looking at the combination of talent that they had with Mobley, Donovan Mitchell, Garland, and others, one easily surmised that this team most likely will go to the Eastern Conference Finals. But then they got to the second round. They started coming across some injuries. And frankly, a lot of people didn't pay much attention to the Indiana Pacers. And the Pacers ended up shocking them and beating them, right? Beat them fair and square. And at the end of it, people like Donovan Mitchell were talking, people are going to say this, people are going to say that. We need to come back motivated, blah, 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 blah. So Nick Wright then decides, like the vulture he is, sitting on top of the damn tree watching. He goes, this would be an opportunistic moment to try to see how we can inject LeBron James into this thing in a way where LeBron James can come out of this thing victoriously. So as you guys know, the Lakers got bounced in the first round, not in 6, not in 7, but in 5, right? In 5. And immediately after that, LeBron fans kick into hyperdrive mode where it's like, okay, LeBron is lost. What's next? How do we get him another chance? These guys are very, very desperate for a chance. LeBron ain't winning no more championships, guys. It's over. He's had, 22 years to try. It's over. It's over. Y'all are still hoping and wishing it's over. So we know what went down in LA. There are various stories going on there in LA. Look at it. Lakers going to do this. Lakers going to do that. And then we were talking about potential alternate destinations for LeBron. Now, I'm one of the people that said I think it's time for LeBron James to leave the Lakers. I think he's done enough. We've seen enough. Just move on. Go to another franchise. Go stink it up. Go destroy it. Just go leave your mark on it. But it's enough. You've done enough damage to the Los Angeles Lakers, the brand. It's enough. Like, I personally want him to leave. I'm not saying LeBron James should retire, but I'm saying he needs to leave the Lakers. Like, enough is enough. Like, enough is enough. So Nick Wright decides to step to the lectern and throw out this ingenious idea where Nick goes, you know what, guys, Wiles, Brew, I think LeBron James should go back to Cleveland. But that ain't even the best part. Wait till you hear the narratives that Nick Wright attached to this suggestion of why LeBron James should consider going to Cleveland. Play exactly what Nick Wright had to say about LeBron potentially going to Cleveland, and then we're going to come back and continue on the show. Take a listen to Nick right here.
I want to talk about Cleveland for a second. Because you can't run it back. You can't expect, it to be different. You do have right now a massive opening in the Eastern Conference because Giannis might be on the move and Tatum, sadly, we now know what we feared yesterday, which is torn Achilles, which means probably means next year's gone. And
even if New York were even to win the championship, nobody's looking at them like, we can't beat them.
Right, and I give New York a ton of credit, but it's still, one team you're talking about in the East as opposed to 10 in the West.
Absolutely.
And their starting small forward, much like their previous starting small forward when they were down 3-1, sent a group text along the lines of, if you don't think we can do it, don't get on the plane. Now, the previous small forward responded to that by himself having the greatest 3-game stretch in the history of the league. This small forward responded to it by going 0 for 9 and scoring 0 points. Sorry, Max Strus. It is what it is.
The thought was in the right. Your heart was in the right.
Right. Yeah. So which I say this. Just go home, Bron.
I mean, it's interesting.
It's from the area. It's year 23. No one can say he's front running. They haven't, in the entirety that the Cavs have existed, they've never been past round 2, except for when he's been there and they've lived in the finals. There was a lot of, chatter this year. Is this the best Cavs team ever? Is this the most fun Cavs season ever? How fun is it now? How fun was, and by the way, it happened like this. They won their first round series by more points than any team in the history of the league.
They looked like they were going to win the East.
And Donovan, who made, there you go, who made, I think, even in defeat, a compelling club superstar case, is now on this very weird streak of every year he's been in the league, he's been in the playoffs, and every year it's ended before the conference finals. It can only happen if Bron is willing to play for close to nothing. But man,
Cleveland can't even trade.
No,
they can't aggregate.
No, so it would really just have to be him being like, you know what? I did my job in LA. Mm-hmm. I brought them a championship and helped them get the player that they then used to get the next, the next iteration of Laker basketball. No one can say I gave them 7 years, more than I think anyone realistically expected. And I think as great as Luka is, I think Bron has a better chance of winning a championship playing with the Cavs. Not because the Cavs would necessarily be better, but because they would have to win 2 tough rounds in the playoffs, the conference finals and the NBA finals. And the Lakers, like the West is just so deep and so hard.
Look, if LeBron went back there, like I don't see this happening. I don't see LeBron going for the minimum. I don't see him leaving the Lakers. But if it did and they didn't have to lose Mobley, like if the Cavs could aggregate players and trade, say, Garland and Mobley for LeBron, I wouldn't do that.
No,
I would not do that.
No, because he's
the
41.
Lakers, I would do that.
Of course.
That'd be great.
No, but he's 40.
Luka.
I'm talking about
right.
LeBron opting out and signing there.
They would be easily, to me, the favorite in the East.
Yeah.
Easily.
So you heard what Nick Wright had to say. Nick Wright is saying that given that the fact that the Cleveland Cavaliers didn't make it to the Eastern Conference Finals or the NBA Finals, LeBron should essentially go to Cleveland to save them and take them back to where they used to be when he was there. Now, a quick aside. Nick, LeBron James has been in LA for 8 good years. If LeBron is as good as you say he is, why is it that only in those 8 years he was only able to go to the finals one time? But in the Eastern Conference, he was able to go pretty much every single year. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that is? Let me explain it to you. The West is harder. Just say you want LeBron to run back to the janky East and go try to find a way to get past one of those teams. That's why. If LeBron stays in the West, he's never going to the finals. It's never, ever, 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 ever going to happen. He's not getting past OKC. He's not getting past Denver. He's not getting past Minnesota and whoever else. He ain't getting past those teams. So Nick is like, just tuck your tail between your legs, go to the East. So essentially what Nick is saying is, imagine if LeBron goes to Cleveland. Cleveland somehow manages to break through. And let's just say they just get to the finals, but they don't win it. Nick Wright can then stand up and say, you see, LeBron James does something that Michael Jordan simply could not do, which is lead a team, because that's what he's going to say. Lead a team to the finals. Then all of a sudden the narrative is going to be what LeBron can teach Donovan Mitchell, how he can lead them. And then before you know it, the franchise is going to go right back into the toilet. That's exactly what it's going to be. They're going to go right back into the dumpster. I've even heard people say, oh, LeBron should go to Dallas. He should go to Dallas. It's like LeBron should go home. How about that? How about LeBron James goes home? How about he goes home? How about somebody else get a crack at it? So this is what Nick Wright is trying to do. He's trying to like, okay, maybe we can, do this and do that and get LeBron out there, and then we can do that and then blah, 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 blah. That's what they're trying to do. Create more narratives. All for the benefit. It's not even about Cleveland. It's all about what can LeBron James do and how can he benefit from this, regardless of how it impacts everybody. And I can almost guarantee you, if LeBron were to go to Cleveland, the next thing you'll hear is he doesn't have enough help if they don't win. Imagine the team that went to the end, they'll say, oh, when LeBron wasn't there, they were playing without pressure. But now when LeBron comes, expectations, it comes with, that's the whole, we all know the playbook. We all know the playbook by these Vipers.